sustainable journey to futures, and I'm just in a lot of things. I'm a student, so I
Awesome.
can for a lot of things. So yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Actually, could we add one thing to this? Also, what brought you to this session, so we could learn a little bit about what you're interested in?
What brought me to this session in particular? Oh, I want to learn more about this. I like know a little bit of knowledge on this type of topic, so I was like, this would be kind of cool to give me some more knowledge on this, and I want to be more well-rounded and stuff. So,
Great. Awesome.
I'm Grayson Stewart, Sustainability Coordinator at Gooder, a company that leverages technology and logistics to combat hunger and food waste. And I think myself as a big recycling and composting buff. A lot of what I do at Gooder is kind of help ensure that we're doing that properly for all our clients of service. But would love to be humble at this session, showing things I don't know, so that's why I'm here.
Hi, I'm Ron Maddox. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer and Chief Problem Solver at the Sterling Planet. We're based in Alpharetta, and we sell renewable energy certificates and carbon offsets. But I'm also in our Connecticut office, and actually have a little organic farm, and use compost on my farm. So just love to hear about your whole process.
Great.
Justin Ellis, I'm with UGA's Office of Sustainability. I'm a restoration ecologist by trade, and so I have used compost in particular and other organic amendments as kind of a central tool for restoring degraded landscapes. We're fortunate here at UGA in that we have in-house dining services who does an incredible job with composting, and then we also have our own campus composting and a community composting thing, and so lots of opportunities for the whole concept of regenerative circular economies to inspire others, we hope, and we hope to get better at it too.
Awesome.
I'm assuming I'm supposed to tell you right. Sorry, I didn't wait.
You're fine.
Jennifer Dunlop. I am with the Athens Square County Sustainability Office. And although we don't address composting on county level, actually a lot of that goes through the recycling division. I worked for the state of Georgia at the Department of Community Affairs, and I was part of the Georgia Recycling Mechanics Council. And we worked with a lot of companies on commercial level composting operations and what those permitting processes would look like, so that can happen there in the state.
Cool.
Awesome. All right, I think we'll kind of go across the back, if that works with you guys.
My name is Hunter. I'm a forestry major getting my master's here at UGA. I came to this because I'm also the Zero Waste Athletics intern with the Office of Sustainability and piloted a Zero Waste baseball series last month. And most of that had to do with composting material at the event. So also recently got in touch with, I think, Justin Sinkville with Compost Now. And
Yeah.
so just, I saw Compost Now and wanted to join.
Very cool.
I'm Meg Darnell. I work for Georgia Organics, which is a nonprofit based in Atlanta. We work with small, medium-sized, sustainable farms on a bunch of different programming. I'm a farmer services coordinator, so work directly with farmers and sort of try to choose any session that seemed a little bit ag-related. But yeah, I have some climate smart farmer programming that I'm working on as well.
Hi, I'm Katie Foster. I am a PhD student here at the University of Georgia in integrative conservation. But before I came here, I was the coordinator for a community garden, a 4-acre community garden at the Chattahoochee Nature Center in North Atlanta. So sustainable ag is a big part of my interest in using soil health to regenerate the land.
Hi everyone, my name is Wyatt. I coming to UGA, I had previously done some work on circular agriculture in the Chesapeake Bay region, and so I'm looking to kind of bring some of that knowledge to Georgia, and curious what's going on and how I can kind of integrate that better to my research.
I'm Jai. I'm a geography major here at UGA. I learned a lot about food systems. I also am a gardening assistant at the Botanical Garden, and the garden I'm in, we do a lot of like heirloom vegetables and fruits, which I found really interesting. So kind of a personal interest and also
Awesome. And would you two ladies who joined at the end, would y'all like to share who your name, who you're with, and what brought you to this session?
My name is Molly Embry. I'm at Agnes Scott College, and I have a strong interest in soil health. So really interested in what you have to talk about.
Great.
My name is Yvonne Taki from the University of Ghana. I'm affiliated currently with the University of Nebraska. I'm interested in climate change effects on agriculture productivity in our country. So I'm interested to see what's happening in West Africa. I'm
Awesome.
trying to see what Georgia is doing in the region to support.
Awesome. Do you want to share real quick? I know you just snuck in, name, who you're with, and what brought you to this session?
Sure. My name is Ella Philpson. I'm with the UGA Office of Sustainability. My role is entirely waste focused, and it's the only waste breakout, so here I am.
Awesome. Well, I'm Blair Michael, and I'm the partner advocate at Better Earth.
And I'm David Paul. I'm the Chief Impact Officer and co-founder of Compost Now.
And as we wrap up the Georgia Climate Conference, we just wanted to share a case study from two local organizations, Better Earth and Compost Now, a concrete example of regenerative circularity in our state. And thank you guys all for coming to our workshop where we can all discuss together the role that each of us can play in creating the regenerative circular economy here in Georgia. So Better Earth and Compost Now, we operate within a closed-loop system for a shared mission to reduce waste while simultaneously saving our soils. Better Earth operates on the front end of that value chain, working with farmers and manufacturers. Looks like we missed a slide, but that's okay. Better Earth is a sustainable packaging provider headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. And we strive to make sustainability accessible within the food service industry and regenerative circularity achievable. So today's discussion is all about reimagining things. Reimagining products, ways of thinking, and bigger systems. Because as most of us know, today's systems are not working for us or our planet. Our extractive linear economy, where single-use plastic plays a starring role, has had monumentous environmental and social effects. The linear economy is exactly what it sounds like, a straight line of infrastructure where we take, make, and waste a lot. And when we throw away those items, they're out of sight, out of mind. But where is a way? These items persist in our landfills, communities, and environment. And the food service industry's impact has been substantial. Roughly 1/3 of all U.S. food is wasted, and food service packaging makes up roughly 1/3 of all U.S. municipal solid waste. And what we learned from the Urban Ag panel on Monday is this number, this 1/3, doesn't even account for the food that's wasted on the field floors before even making it to the food service industry. And so a lot of people are asking how we can change this. And thankfully, we're beginning to see momentum. Both federal and state governments have passed legislation that's pointing towards a plastic-free future. 8 states have banned single-use plastic bags. Another 8 states have banned expanded polystyrene, or as most of us know it as, styrofoam. 5 states have enacted extended producer responsibility legislation, holding producers accountable to responsible waste management of their products. And most recently, the Biden administration has announced a goal of replacing 90% of petroleum-based plastic production with bioplastics by 2030. And all of these policies will have cascading impact on creating green jobs, on creating access to sustainable products, on revitalizing waste management, and on our bigger agriculture systems, which can all help us realize regenerative circularity. So in a regenerative circular economy, nothing is wasted. Value is added at every step of the value chain. And compostable packaging and composting is a great example of this. And so our products, so our products, they're grown by renewable regenerative crops that sequester carbon and enrich our soils. They're designed to break down into nutrient-rich compost, which revitalize the land and grow more nutrient-dense crops. And just a few other ways that compostables are a catalyst for our health, environment, and economy. The World Health Organization just listed styrofoam as a known carcinogen. Compostables, on the other hand, have to pass rigorous third-party testing to ensure that no toxicity is left behind in the soil during the composting process, therefore in our food or drinks either. One of our chain customers here in the Southeast was able to divert 3.6 million styrofoam clamshells in just 6 months by switching to compostable packaging, diverting it from landfills and our environment. And compostables create green jobs. At Better Earth alone, we support over 150 green jobs here in the Southeast, 60 of those being Tennessee farmers that grow the crops for our regenerative farmers fiber collection. And in a regenerative food system, every partner supports every other partner along the food chain. So for us, that starts in the field, where our farmers grow our raw materials, to the packaging that our customers enjoy, back to the fields that composters serve. Every partner is critical to the success of our shared mission. So with our compost partners, for example, all of our compostable packaging is designed with composters in mind. Then, when our customers compost their compostable packaging, it helps capture more food scraps for composters. The compostable packaging itself acts as a carbon source for composters. And compostables help grow demand for more composting infrastructure. So, from field to fork to field, we're closing the loop together. So with that, I'll pass things over to David Paul to talk about Compost Now's side of our shared value chain, and then bring us into our breakout sessions.
All right, thanks, Blair. So Compost Now, we've been around for 11 years. We were founded in 2011. Our mission is to divert food waste from landfills and build healthy soil. So really where Blair left off is where we pick it up in terms of our focus is solely on soil health. We're losing significant value in our soil systems, and if we don't put that value back into our soils, our society is going to crumble, essentially. We're threatened by the fact that our food is losing nutritional value, our environment has too much carbon in it, and we can't store that carbon in the soil because the soil is not healthy, to put it in simplistic format. So we've created a system to really disrupt that linear model that Blair was discussing that is our current paradigm in our waste management world. So for us, that's called nutrient cycling. We pick food waste up from customers that range from homeowners to businesses to institutional level folks, universities, stadiums, hospitals, restaurant chains, we all have food waste. That is an undeniable fact of the matter. So we collect that food waste wherever we find it, and we bring that to a composting facility, either owned or operated by our partners, where we turn that material into finished compost, and then we cycle that material back into our food system via our platform. How our platform works is if you are a customer of Compost Now, you have a dashboard that you log into and in real time can see what you're diverting from the landfill. So we've created a tech platform behind the systems that run our logistics company, so that you can track every ounce of food that you're saving from the landfill and what that's turning into in terms of finished compost. You then can either cash in that compost from your bank account to use that in your own home garden, or you can share that with a community garden or farm in your neighborhood and in your community. And that's really important because we're creating an opportunity for you as an individual and as a customer of this service to actually participate in cycling nutrients back into your community. So if anyone's heard of community-supported agriculture or participates in a CSA, you can think of this as a reverse CSA in a sense. Compost and inputs, fertilizer inputs, are one of the most costly components of agriculture and farming, which is already a very difficult thing to do. So we're creating an opportunity for the community to support farms via this program. As I mentioned, we've been doing this for a long time. Started very humbly. As I said, I'm one of the co-founders. It started with bikes. We started with personal vehicles. We started with collecting food scraps from families and friends and neighbors, and really understood for the first 7 years of the business that this was a logistics problem and that this was a logistics company. And like I said, we've built technology behind that. We have 150 employees across 4 states and 5 markets. We install composting programs at every level. So our thing is, don't start a compost, no failures. You cannot fail in this work because as soon as someone does that, they lose trust and they lose faith in composting as a solution and won't do it again, or the barriers to them doing it again are very high. And what I mean by that is, say you run a cafe and you're really gung-ho about disrupting this linear model of waste management, and you want to compost your coffee grounds, you want to compost your compostables, and you have someone down the street that says, yeah, I'll start picking them up for you. Well, that person's child gets sick, or they have something else they have to do and they don't show up, and the coffee grounds build up and the compostables build up, and that person no longer has faith in the idea of composting. So especially in the Southeast, where there aren't mandates, where this hasn't been institutionalized, we have had to overcome so many barriers to get people to trust this service, to be able to gain a pathway forward of more people wanting to divert their food waste from landfills to build healthy soil. Like I said, we do this at every scale. So we do this with municipalities, we do this with institutional customers, all the way down to single-family homes. As I mentioned, we're losing our value in our topsoil at an alarming rate. Since we started this work 11 years ago, not as many people were talking about soil health. Now you have this intersection between soil health and waste management where composting sits. And I think that's really where rubber meets the road with this work, is the fact that those are 2 juggernauts of industries that we're able to find value within. So without healthy soil, there is no healthy food. It's as simple as that. We're really good in our current agricultural system of taking nutrients out of the ground. We're really bad at putting it back in the ground. That cycle is broken, and we can fix that cycle through these systems that we're talking about. So we do that in 4 key areas. Building local infrastructure is really important. We're going to talk about infrastructure today. One of the biggest barriers to this work is infrastructure. I heard someone in the back talking about commercial composting facilities. Specifically in the state of Georgia, commercial composting infrastructure has been severely underdeveloped for a very long time. This means that folks that do want to compost, it's very difficult for them to do that with any level of integrity because there aren't facilities to take this material and compost it and do it well. So that already instills a lack of trust in the system, which is why we run our own composting facility in the state, and why we've partnered in third-party or public-private partnership formats with folks like Athens, Clark County, to ensure that we are composting at the highest level. This creates meaningful jobs. You already mentioned this earlier. Compost Now employs over 150 people. You know, you don't think about, and for a long time, work within the waste world has not been thought of as dignified work, as respectable work. There is so much dignity and so much respect in this work. You are revitalizing our soils. When you heal our soils, you heal people. You heal whole communities. So this is, and dignity in work comes from not just the mission, but how you're treated at work, what you're paid, the facilities that you work in, the culture of the people around you. So there's a whole lot that's created out of just the value of caring for your soil. If you care for your soil, you care for people. Establishing local partnerships. This work cannot happen without partnerships. That's what we're representing here today. Circularity, like Blair illustrated perfectly. You're hitting a lot of different organizations and people along the value chain. So local partnerships are critical to this work. Defining industry standards. Like I said, no false starts. Compost Now has had this policy for a long time, has worked very hard across all of our different cities and markets that we're in to work with other compost partners as well to make sure that they have all the tools and resources they need to do composting well. So this isn't a only Compost Now conversation. This is a compost at all costs kind of thing. Everyone needs to compost, whether it's with Compost Now, whether it's with Gooder, whether it's with someone else. Composting needs to happen. We have to revitalize our soils. So our solution at its core is a logistics service, like I said, that revolves around collection. Technology backs it. Our co-founder, prior to Compost Now, developed mass transit tracking software that was, some of you might use it on campus here today, but when you're looking for a bus and when it's going to show up, that is the system that he created. And he's very passionate about bringing that same level of kind of transformative tech capability to the waste industry. One of the reasons why the waste industry has basically remained the same for about 100 years is that you've kept that out of sight, out of mind mentality. We don't want to engage in understanding what our waste is and what it means. We've become very accustomed to just throwing it in a bin, expecting that to be picked up and saying goodbye to it and having no idea the impacts of it. Like I said, I've been doing this work for a long time. I've talked to a lot of people, and one thing I hear over and over and over again is, why would I pay you to pick up my trash? So I don't think I need to answer that question to this group, but there's a lot of hidden costs in that system that people just aren't aware of. So technology plays a really important role in transparency, in bringing this data to people so that they can understand what is happening to this material, where is it going, how is it being processed. Again, if people are participating in composting just because they think it's a good thing, then you are failing. So you have to have transparency in these services so that people trust the systems. I've already hit the head of the infrastructure nail pretty hard, and we'll talk about that more. And then product. Blair mentioned it earlier. Cycling this material back into our food system, compostable product is a really important role in that. So y'all have cups on your tables right now. Everything that you consume, food or drink out of can be compostable and can come back into our food system. And one of the biggest issues of our industry is contamination. So if contamination comes in the form mostly of plastics, aluminum, glass, that can completely ruin this industry. You might have heard about the challenges that Denver's facing. My role at Compost Now, I talk a lot to a lot of cities all over the country. I work on policy, I work on investment. So I was on the phone with Denver and Boulder last week. I'm on the phone with them often because they are running into the challenge of only having one facility to bring the material to, and that facility is struggling because the material they're getting is so wholly contaminated that they can't create healthy soil on the back end. So when you roll these programs out at a citywide level, it's not surprising that you're going to end up with contamination. It's not surprising that that's going to happen on your campus if you don't have a landfill bin, if you don't put education into this, if you don't have compostable products, if you don't fully understand every little component of this work and teach around that and build the culture around that, you will have failed programs. So that's happening around our country right now. It's a big threat to this industry as it goes forward. And Compost Now is very involved in all of that because we want this to be successful. We want this industry to grow. So just as Blair had a momentum slide, so do we. It parallels a lot of what she was talking about. But again, 11 years ago, I would have been sitting at this table with maybe one other person. Happy to see all of you in this room. That's the kind of momentum that is building. You can see it through legislation. You can see it through investment capital coming into our industry. You can see it through trends. I grew up in a small community in Wisconsin where Organic Valley was founded. So I was very aware of organic food from a very young age and healthy eating and how to co-op in our community. And that trend really led to a lot of consumer trends in what we're consuming, how it's prepared, our awareness of it, the rise of places like Whole Foods. And the thing that happened, or really took off at a certain point, was when regenerative agriculture came into the picture. We started talking about soil health. We started prioritizing soil at the center of this conversation of healthy food and at the nexus between our consumption of healthy food and our healthy planet. So regenerative agriculture has had this meteoric rise, really excited about that, terrified about the use of that word, regenerative. It's everywhere, it can be misappropriated. But we have things like the Compost Act that was introduced into Congress last year. We have Senate Bill 1383 in California. Lots of mandates around the diversion of organics from landfills. This all illustrates a tremendous amount of momentum in this industry and headed towards soil health. Cool, thank you. All right, so what does this look like by the numbers in terms of what we've accomplished at Compost Now? Since our start in 2011, we've diverted over 60 million pounds from the landfill, and that's converted into 19 million pounds of finished compost. All of that has been distributed back into the community via our garden and farm partners. One thing to note here that is pretty crazy is in 2020, can you guess what happened? The pandemic. So overnight, just to illustrate how this system works that we're in, pretty much overnight we lost 65% of our revenue, and we lost 65% of our diversion, our tonnage that we were diverting from landfills. And when I say overnight, that was cafes, that was restaurants, that was universities, that was stadiums, event centers that just shuttered or said, we're gonna cut way, way back on who's here in our space, which means less food waste. People are always like, well, there was more people at home, so wasn't there more household waste? And that's not really true. We saw the trend line in terms of compost. People were generating a similar amount. They were cooking more at home, but they were just more a part of that system in their daily lives. So since 2020, things have come back. We've gotten back on track. This was a gut punch for us that, for those that have been doing this for almost a decade at that point, when COVID happened and things shuttered so significantly, there was definitely a question of whether this was going to come back, but it has. All right, some more impact metrics. We like to show conversion kind of metrics that help people visualize what this impact looks like. So that impact that I showed earlier, the 60 million pounds diverted from landfill, the 19 million pounds of finished compost created, that's the equivalent of 10 million tomato plants. We call it tomato plant potential. Pulling the emissions of 15,358 vehicles off the road for a year. So 100 current local jobs directly in our company, several others around the composting facilities and the farms that we support, 110,000 in compost savings to our local garden partners. So that's a really important part of this. Like I said, all of this material that these individual customers are earning is donated and shared back to the farms and gardens in our community. Those garden partners of ours do not pay a dime for this material. It's all shared through the program that we've created. All right, so let's quickly go over why compost. I think most of us in this room get it. But again, this mirrors what I've already said: reduce waste, divert waste from landfills, build healthy soil. So when this material ends up in a landfill, as many of you know, methane is emitted, which is a greenhouse gas that's many times more potent than carbon dioxide. I put many times because everyone has a different idea of what the many is. So I'm just going to say it's a lot worse. Compost replaces energy-intensive fertilizers and pesticides. And when you add compost to the soil, it gives the soil this kind of life-giving capacity. It will restore and reestablish the microbiology that exists in your soil, reignite life in it. I highly encourage you to do this, even at a small scale. Get some compost, turn up your garden, put it in the ground, and see the magic of this material. Yeah, so all these things, it's a magical process. I've done education with kids as little as kindergartners up to university students and adults, mayors of cities, senators, and the reaction that I get from absolutely everyone is complete amazement and awe that you can take something that we all think of as trash and turn it into this life-giving material. It is a magical process that anyone can understand, again, from a kindergartner to a university student. All right, so getting to the challenges. Here in Georgia, we face 3 significant challenges. These are not unique to Georgia. They're across all states, but we are here. We're going to talk about it as it relates to here. Processing infrastructure. Got to have outlets for this material to go to be processed. We don't have enough of this in the state. We are working very hard to develop it. We need policies to support circularity. So whether that's on the side of compostables and the products that Blair was talking about and plastics, we have to have this as it relates to our food residuals. And we need investment. So, if you think about solar, where solar was 20 years ago, so much investment has come into the solar industry. The same thing has to happen for the composting industry and for all the kind of components around it for this work to continue to scale. And when I say investment, I don't just think of like venture capital. I'm talking about subsidies, I'm talking about grants, I'm talking about the USDA, the EPA, the EPD, Solid Waste Trust Fund. I'm talking about all these critical components of what helps develop kind of the underpinning foundation for an industry and what we can value. Cool. Thank you for listening to both Blair and I. We're going to move into kind of the interactive part of our session. So there are 2 kind of breakout spots that y'all will have the opportunity to sit at, both of them. We're going to do something that's called a World Cafe. It's a format of the group being able to engage around certain questions and topics. So you're going to find yourself at one of these tables and there will be a prompt on your table. The first prompt is what are other industries or systems in Georgia that could have an outsized environmental impact if they adopted circular principles? And then the other one is what are your ideas for addressing the big barriers to expanding this closed-loop system, policy, infrastructure, investment? Blair and I are the facilitators of these tables, so we're going to split you all up, and then basically what's going to happen is we're going to have a conversation around that prompt at that table, and we're going to brainstorm ideas around these prompts. Then at a 25-minute mark or whatever we decide it's going to be, you will switch tables to the other table, and you will learn from Blair or myself what was discussed in that last session, and we will build upon that. At the end of that process, we will report out to each other what was kind of discovered in that conversation. Sound good? Great.
Real quick, I guess before diving into that, did anyone have any questions for us? Any questions before diving into our conversations? Yeah.
I'm curious, how many compost sites are there in Georgia, including the one that y'all own?
Depends on what kind of scale you're talking about and what material they're processing. So what
Commercial composting?
commercial composting that's accepting food scraps only, or biosolids as well?
I'd say accepting food scraps, because there are a lot of compost sites that just accept like yard and wood waste, but accepting yard and wood waste and food scraps as well as biodegradables. There's a lot of like community composting sites that we work with, like Gooder can only accept like vegetarian compost with no biodegradables.
Yeah, I would say there's probably 3.
So like,
Oh, hold on, I'll just follow that real quick with just the Metro Atlanta region could support 10 facilities that are processing 25,000 tons per year or more. Just the Metro Atlanta region. And there is not a single one in the Metro Atlanta region that's processing at that scale right now. The closest would be Gainesville.
Your question?
Yeah, so with the revival of the recycling waste diversion grant that comes from that new money, or that old money that came back, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
The trust fund money.
Yep.
Have you been a part of any of those projects with municipalities or counties?
Not directly. Part of the challenge is that money is available to public entities. So a trend in this industry is the public-private partnerships that are happening, and that's going to be really critical for access to funds like that, or any of the funds that I'm talking about. But we have helped cities think through what they need to put in a successful organics diversion program and help them access those funds. So we have grant writing capability in-house that we're working with different partners on.
Any other questions, guys? These are great ones. Yeah.
Could y'all talk a little bit about your specific partnership? Like, it sounds like there's some facilities that maybe wouldn't take Better Earth products.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we're a compostable packaging provider. Compost Now distributes our packaging to ensure that their customers have 100% compostable packaging and to clean up contamination in their compost stream. And then it helps, they're able to refer their customers to us, and then on the other end, we're able to refer our customers to them to ensure that our compostables are getting composted and really closing that loop, and that we're not recreating the same issues we're seeing with the recycling industry. So that's kind of our partnership. At Better Earth, we truly believe in the need to grow composting infrastructure. So we've also invested in Compost Now so that we can continue to support composting here in Georgia. Yeah?
So another question, Gooder, for full disclosure, we also do commercial composting hauling, and we find that a lot of times working with these different sites, we don't own a compost site, that contamination levels are very high. Because think about if you drop off a 5,000 pound load at your facility, how can you, without going through the whole load and auditing it, tell me what % of the material is contaminated? I'm curious, do y'all have an idea or a good method to gauge contamination, whether it's by weight or volume? So I find that plastic is so light, or it's such a low amount in terms of weight and contamination, but the volume is just so large. And plastic bags can be such a pain for cleaning out or kind of ruining good material.
Yeah, it's a very manual process right now, so we do go through everything by hand multiple times. So we have both urban and rural infrastructure at Compost Now. We have a warehouse in the city of Atlanta, or in East Point, where all material collected goes to first, and it all gets sorted through at that facility before it goes out to the composting facility, which is critical. You have to have that middle step because you're ensuring that whoever you're bringing the material to, you're bringing a clean stream to them. If you want to have a successful partnership with that facility, whether it's yourself or whether it's someone else, and you want them to keep accepting your material and grow that program, you got to be bringing them clean material. And we also work with our customers. We have education programs we've developed, curriculum around it, back of house, front of house training. We have developed sorting systems within stadiums and event centers that are sorting before it even gets to us. But we don't have to turn away loads because we're getting clean loads every single time.
And I think that speaks to green jobs. So compost facilities create 3 times more jobs than landfills. And that's because with landfills, you're just taking the material, and like we talked before, right? You're just taking it, you're dumping it in a hole in the ground and covering it up, right? You're not turning it into a finished product. So composting really provides the opportunity to invest in dignified green jobs in our communities. And yeah, like I said, 3 times more so if they're sorting, if they're processing, if they're turning it into a finished product and getting it back out into our community. Yeah, no, we love conversation. Ask the questions.
Plenty of time.
I'm curious if the farmers that you work with, do you run into any issues with being able to provide compost to certified organic farms versus?
Yeah, so you can't OMRI certify compost that has compostable plastics in it currently, but we do create an OMRI certified compost that can go, like for Love is Love, that is a specific material as an example of an organic certified farmer that we bring material to.
And BPI, who is our leading third-party certifier, they are currently, like they were on the Hill last week working with OMRI and organics to get it where you can still certify OMRI certified compost and use it on organic farms if it's had compostable packaging, specifically bioplastics in it, because it passes that rigorous third-party certification to show that there's no heavy metals, no PFAS, no toxicity left behind in the soil whatsoever.
Yeah, you totally should be able to do
I
it.
was gonna say, it's probably just like a lag in education.
Exactly, yeah.
DOP takes forever to change any law, so.
Yeah,
Exactly.
these are awesome questions, yeah.
Do you do any like nutrient testing on the final compost before it goes out? And
Yeah.
like how do you, I guess how often do you do that and how is it like communicated to the customers too?
Yeah, so it's done quarterly, and we do it for our own purposes by batch as well, but quarterly for reporting purposes. And then for customers that want to see it, we'll send it to them. It's not published on our website, but anyone that wants to see it, we're happy to send it to them.
I mean, with that, it's slightly acidic, your compost usually?
No,
The pH is
very balanced.
7?
Yeah, 6.5, 7.
What other awesome questions?
I have a question I'm curious about, and you may, I'm sure that you thought this, but I don't know that it's, with the local composting you're doing, it would matter. I'm just curious about pre-consumer versus post-consumer. I mean, I realize you would want it all to be free, because that would be great. You're just getting it before anything else is happening, and you're having your fat levels increases, but what percentage would you say, like, you don't have the customers to give you bulk, but do you work strictly, do you work with any farmers or anybody who's just doing all pre-consumer, and then just people who are just like back of the house versus what's coming out and
Yeah.
what's already, going on the trash?
Yeah, a good example would be like a food manufacturer is going to give you a very clean pre-consumer material, like it's our favorite thing to compost. And then you have a stadium or a university or something like that. That's depending on where, if it's dining halls, then it can be a good mix. But if it's a stadium, that material, there's a lot of balancing that has to go into composting that and doing that well, because there's a lot of fat and salt on that material. So coming out of a stadium, you're getting material that's very difficult to compost, and you have to balance it really well.
Any other questions, guys?
I wanted to clarify really quick, did you say that the end product you said giving to gardeners, are you giving them to farmers as well, or?
Yeah, farms and gardens.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How many farm partners do y'all have in the Atlanta area?
300, and that ranges from like a market vegetable gardener to like a 20-acre, mostly vegetable farmers. Yeah. Everyone that's in the Georgia Organics network is pretty much
Probably we have similar.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's awesome to see like how many of you guys, came to this session because of your interest in composting and in soil health. I know I mentioned it in Monday Urban Ag. We are working to get the Georgia Compost Council solidified here in our state to help continue to build this infrastructure, get that investment, work on policies. So if any of your organizations would be interested in supporting that and being involved in that, that's a project that we're working on this year. So feel free to reach out to either of us. Also, Suki Jensen with Athens Clarke County would be a great contact, as well as Gloria at Georgia Recycles. So seems like an interested group, so hope that you guys will all get involved as well. But with that, I think we'll go ahead and dive into our different groups. So if you guys want to split, I think it'll be about groups of six or seven-ish. Grab a table, we'll chat for about 25-30 minutes, and then we'll swap and chat for another 25-30 minutes, and then share back.
Yeah, so I guess if you're on this side of the room, just go here, and this side will go here. If it's out of balance, we'll figure it out. It doesn't have to actually just be composting. So we're expanding it out of just compost to addressing the big barriers to these closed loop systems. Yeah, so think about your industry, think about what you're in, and how we might address these issues through that lens as well. Procurement, yeah. We can expand. These were just kind of suggestions. These are key areas that we see as challenges. So feel free to pick up on that. And just the idea of a World Cafe is like to almost like line dump onto this page.
Yeah.
Put your thoughts down, your ideas down, and then we'll develop it. Correct. There's a ton of ones. Not here, not now.
Georgia has a, Georgia.
And North Georgia has real problems
Is
too.
southeast of the United States.
There's 150.
Yeah, there is only one problem. This part of Georgia has at least one thing.
But,
That is a driver because I know, so when we built the UGA bio conversion plant.
this is perfect, yeah,
It was a statewide initiative to try and
and so with
remove
this
organics
solar,
from landfill
how do we
because of the
close
landfill
that loop? Like, what kind of
crisis.
programs do we
I guess we
need to
built a lot
recycle?
more landfill space after that, crisis went away.
I'm not familiar
All that
with
research and
that.
investment in bioconversion went away too, and the batteries.
The landfill spaces are,
Yeah.
and everything's coming out of Georgia. So it can be a huge area to say that Georgia has tons of farmers.
We work a lot with
Yeah.
different haulers across the waste industry, and the landfill is
Yeah,
their
it's
golden
like, yeah,
goose.
it's right in-
They love landfill, it is their profit margin, so like, what is this, land,
Sure.
waste management, more public.
Yeah.
Their profits, we're biggest
Yeah,
market.
and they're
Yeah.
gorgeous landfills with big black open gates and lots of landscaping.
Yeah,
I
know,
mean,
right?
you're absolutely right,
The
but
linear
that's,
guys.
you know, however you want to market it, that is, right, but that is seen as an investment from.
So I guess it'd be like,
local governments and municipalities who don't understand
thinking
that,
of different,
not
like,
here, they run their own,
more
but people think that that, you're right,
substrates,
is right.
right? Like,
And
what
it's-
else?
that should be the last thing they're thinking,
Like,
what could be
we looked at the
preserved
knowledge
done by
and
EPA,
added to
especially
like
with food.
reinvigorate
Landfilling is here,
panel
giving it to
and
other people
I'm
is
sure
here,
it's not
so
all
if we're looking at
So yeah,
Georgia doesn't have a law to
$100
provide
fine,
it.
and that's-
thinking through
Yeah,
other
that's because
ways
they don't
that,
have space and they
you know,
require
we're not
recycling by
just
law.
creating a
Georgia
piece
does
of
not have a law
trash
to recycle.
just
So
because one
everybody
thing
can throw
goes
whatever they
over
want to
to
throw.
go.
50% of what's in the landfill here.
Yeah,
I heard
I don't,
trash.
and.
It's 50%.
EPA estimates 75% of what's in landfills is recyclable if they're correctly dealt with. I mean, I'm finding it's 99%.
Hardwood's the lowest hanging fruit, and you're gonna stick to that.
Yeah, and that's in the sun and they are
huge
biodegradable. But yeah, just like
You're just
alternative.
flattening cardboard as well on a space.
I mean, cardboard's fairly easy, there's vibrant markets.
Oh, there's plenty of markets, people are still putting it in the trash though. It's not that the market's not there, but it's not going to the right home. Forgive me for saying home. You know, we're on the same page.
So to
with this
summarize
BOA.
that, I just said that landfill space
Altogether.
and cost of expanding landfills, that
Oh, wow.
shortages of space for increasing
Well, I
cost
did, I
drive
have
innovation,
seen, I
but we're
didn't
saying
realize that
that
was the process.
we may have too
I have
much
seen
space,
that
the
they
costs are too low relative
thinking
to
about,
national average.
you know, like going
And
back
I
to
mean,
wood.
it's tough,
Right, and like
it's like the equivalent of buying a cheap pair of shoes from a place
like
that
when
doesn't
built
like
right, not when built
I mean,
cheap.
the investment should be in the thing that is more
It's a massive
sustainable.
building.
That's not what's happening, we're all on the same
So,
page.
And honestly, something that's gonna be, you guys are up there.
Cell expansion.
Having false starts.
Like prepping.
There's a huge
Well,
problem with the forestry building.
you also
that
look at short-term
Oregon
costs, right?
State, they
50
try
years
to
from
build
now, people are worried about, oh, we got the water quality.
building.
Oh, we got the
Short-term
septic.
fell apart,
And
like,
that's-
Oh, that is such a bad look. That's a
those are
really
false
bad
start.
look.
Yeah.
Where a new landfill owner does have to run the cost of the decommissioning and management.
They go back to-
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, so it's 50 years or so.
And then
to
they
do it.
say to Athens, here you go, it's yours, thank you very much.
Well, so we don't get too caught up on just talking about landfills, I wonder from an infrastructure point of view,
Recyclable
Yeah.
or
isn't there
circular,
still an
right?
incentive
Yeah.
though at the landfill to divert organics out into an organic stream?
I'm just gonna start with water, you guys can add.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's
what I'm saying.
So like we nerd out over water, like all of our
Organic.
conversations are about
Georgia, and
sustainability and
really,
water
you
and
know,
houses
this
and
is
such,
frustrating. It's,
I guess
you
overlooked
keep it
or
in, you don't keep it out,
underlooked,
you keep it in, right, so then you have dirt landfills, and then you have C&D,
and
which
how
you're not
we're
gonna
using
touch
our warming rates,
the,
just like soil.
the impact that
how
how
it's
municipal
been
solid
cut
waste.
is
So
a
there's
lot
three
like
different
we're
landfills
talking
that
about
have to do, at
because
least we
it's
can do is
outside
get
of
it in,
mine,
not
it's
in
being
municipal
stressed,
solid
like
waste.
lost water in the ground.
Yeah, and so
We can
you're
see
right,
that.
if we're not
So
doing this
how we
infrastructure,
function,
and
that's
this is where we're going to be policy,
you know, like
the
I
permitting
think a lot
process
of the,
and what is allowable
a
and
lot
what,
of the things
what
we
is
address first are like
the,
what you can see, and so then.
limitations
the bigger
or
systems
roadblocks
just grow
for
and grow.
having organic
It's also
recycling or
cheap,
commercial
so it's not
composting,
a problem
is that
because
the
it's not
perception
limited.
is just like a landfill, and
At
it's
some
not.
point.
So when people hear that, especially
I was gonna say,
in a community,
I literally was
it's
writing
still
that.
NIMBY, even if it's
Because
not a
Georgia, we
landfill,
have the
it's
cheapest
just solid waste,
landfill
they
rate
still
in all
hear,
the whole
what are you
country.
doing
So
and what are you
it's
bringing in? Is it good to smell? How much
Yeah.
waste is it gonna?
So we
like,
used to,
so
you
it's
know, I
still
used
the
to
perception is
pull
still there,
children
it's very
And
different.
part of
And the
that,
number one thing
maybe
why
this
I think
process
waste
was
is
advised here,
people
part of that's a
understand
scale
this
issue.
artificial sense
You know, so
of waste.
it's not worth
Yeah.
trying to navigate the permitting process if
And so, yeah.
you get it to the scale that's beneficial to the community, or actually diverting from the landfill and
You also
environmental
use
waste.
climate
you do.
perspective too,
But
if
it's-
you're driving a little bit of water.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's whatever.
Like the tipping
800
fee
miles.
for if you took it directly to like the company, it's the carbon invoice is $50 a ton.
Also breaks the cost.
New England
Well,
area.
that's-
You can't make a profitable business.
First 25.
I've never taken any class in my life, I don't put on money, I'm bullshit. One big issue in Athens is that
All of that is.
the tipping fees at the, or
They wanted it to be lower.
more than double the tipping fees in the landfill.
So what are some
What
other things
angle
with
do you
water
tackle
that
that
it
issue?
could become a.
Yeah, totally, the same issue exists.
But now, a couple of positive examples, so stormwater has a lot of rainwater harvesting and other,
Athens,
you know, green infrastructure techniques.
I mean, that's a question.
Infiltrate
Could
the water
Athens
instead of having it run off.
implement
Agriculture has a lot
all pay
of
or bad?
input right now in like precision ag and
How's
smart
garbage
irrigation,
paid for now?
to limit the amount of water you get.
In Athens?
So both of those are
It is.
things too.
So I would argue a very
They
Republican
just
thing.
keep-
Well, this one,
For
I
that
think is a bit more
Because
circular.
people were throwing many bags, so they just on the rate like individuals. There's individuals that drive their trash to the landfill. They have access to every container, they will drive their trash to the landfill every Saturday.
And you, well.
And they like it that way.
you are charging paper bags,
Yeah.
and
A great example.
do they have to break out the recyclables?
I remember when you were in Southern,
Free,
they
Correct.
and then MSW.
I picked
Is-
some right trash can, I picked the tiniest
most
ones.
Yeah,
sustainable,
pay as you throw is at the curbside, but that's,
And then big recycling.
what do you call the sports?
and
if
all
it's
of
like
the waste
close to
store
like you're doing
are
for fun.
doing
They have they have like the most
offer
sustainable
a certain number of recyclables.
thing on their
Like they have to be able
fields.
to
They have like
process, the
where it
private
caught
houses
in a
that
pond
county
and
can't
then
service
was
anything outside
the
of city
only
limits.
water used.
So all the
you
private
know,
holders that come in have to
that
meet
circular
an expectation of
system.
what the commission or the recycling requires.
I mean, you have the
But they don't always
basis,
advertise space.
but you have the basis for a program that is proven nationally to be successful with cheaper program. I mean, you're not charging enough money, and the money's not going in the right place, so you have to put into solid waste bags, and say recyclables and compost are free. And
That's
you
something
charge
like planting a bunch
$10
of
a bag.
trees, but then not
Huh?
having anyone. So, no, that's true. You can't just put the control what a private owner do on that level. So they don't come private owner, mine is competency.
And the water.
If I was to go down to subdivision on Jefferson Highway, and I called and said, hey, I just moved in, they get it, but I think large bins, they could, until I asked. And I only know this because we've been on the state side, and I know the recycling division, I know.
So creating it.
If you call and ask, hey, I want a small bin, and pay you, they'll give it to you, but that's not what will show up at your door when you become a customer. Because it is not in their best interest to offer you that. If you, I mean, so the idea is you're right. People should choose that. They don't have the opportunity to do what they're doing over here.
So what are some other examples of water? either
Bring us
roads, like
into something
the
for a second, which is,
things
let's
implemented
maybe look at this
or
at a
areas for
statewide
I don't know anything
level,
about it,
but
Yeah.
like, just because that's such a unique case. And I'm inclined to go to policy, going back to that, I think that at one point, the state mandated organic diversion due to, of course, it was driven by something like this, that what would it take to get, I'm trying to think of what policy would start to drive more investment in more infrastructure, or I think it's your perspective, is that something that's, why is Georgia so far behind all these other states? It's not primarily this. So this has to come first before it is.
Simple policy, but the composting is an additional cost to MSW service, being able to deduct the cost of the compost provider against your overall waste bill, if not your tax bill. That would be a huge
So remind me
incentive.
of
Yeah.
some like
Yeah.
farms.
Right now, it's electric water.
See?
Yeah, so it's.
Is that something that does happen at a state policy level, or does that usually happen at a municipal level?
I think it'd be probably easier to do at a local level. I imagine implementation probably not deal at a state level.
I mean, if you look at statewide, you probably have the challenge in Atlanta, because it's really big, and the suburbs around it.
Ever done saltwater,
You got,
because I don't
you know,
know
the
what
ability to
technologies
scale,
are.
and then
I've
go
seen
to
saltwater,
already
kind of
counties.
But I think it's mostly just that it's very
It's
expensive.
the same reason why they don't have green boxes instead of having recycling occur, because the density is not there, and it's a burden. Also, the idea.
I'm thinking
Maybe
like the
people that actually
survival.
are.
Well, yeah, you also have to
Like
figure out how to
that, they're
transport
doing it
it.
because it's.
I do
because
know
how many
there-
billionaires that could.
Well,
I do know
would the
from
state
the
policy
ag
to drive
industry,
composting them at those green box collection
coconut
sites?
core
Like, that would
tends
just
to be
part of how you
like,
implement that policy.
what a lot of people will like amend their soil with, but they've gotten really bad rap.
Hauling it
So
anyway.
much energy.
It would just be hauling it one bag versus the other.
I agree. It's the same thing with trash, and people say, oh, no, I don't know, it's all the same stuff, you just have to pick up where it's gonna go. I completely agree.
I mean, my suggestion would be
Wow.
a policy from.
Yeah, it's like, wow, we need to figure out
Local
that,
cities,
it's like,
trying to
would
figure out
that,
solution
you know,
there, and leave
want
the
like
rural areas
innovation,
almost
Yeah.
alone.
too much energy.
So,
I guess that's the same for a lot of
you know,
crops,
if you
other
want to
ones
get
in
some policy
California,
change,
or
I mean,
maybe
you send it to the state legislature.
and avocado, you know.
So let's say, okay.
Peanut versus.
Do we need
I
that?
don't want water, so I do whatever,
Yeah.
fine, let them do it.
Yeah.
Affect me
Like,
and my
do we
constituents,
need that,
you know,
crops,
out
right?
in the rural area.
Are people going to, I feel like if eating
Yeah,
healthy,
but it's
right?
more of a tough argument.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, I know, everybody wants their guacamole.
Well, that's kind of what we were talking about in your session, the seasonality of food.
Probably the worst thing
Like,
in Atlanta is if you say how
and
many
like,
garbage
you know,
cans
I like, I saw this really
or something like that.
carbon
can have all your fruits, like
So
2 servings of fruit.
carbon
per day.
problem in our state is one of the
So,
biggest issues
Well,
why composting
similar
can't
thing
expand
with
and why.
droughts,
carbon-
a lot of.
Oh, we have plenty of carbon.
Oh, yeah, I'm
But
sorry.
it's going to biomass, it's being incinerated right now. So a whole other industry that's happening.
There's still a secure service is styrofoam.
And then you have-
Not even biomass in the state, like when we were in school.
Yes.
Yeah, the global market didn't do that. It's just
I remember the
the-
year it changed, and I was like,
Outlets to.
Well, the idea was using a bunch of water during the drought and then also.
Right, and we needed,
Employees to wash the
It's kind of,
dishes
it's kind of,
more
right, it is more
expensive.
like.
It's valuable, I suppose.
Well,
I still use
so
styrofoam.
you probably think about which is the food scrap.
a lot of moms.
Yeah, so we have a partial yard waste
say
ban in the
from-
city.
'cause I used to start
Full yard waste
commercial
ban,
program
and
from
that
Wisconsin
is
as well,
also
so
not
I always
enforced.
say
That
that
the
the
city
scary
level
level
is not enforced,
is
like,
a
cap
mom,
their-
a mom with a cause, and so many,
Different across
so
every
many
school.
different
It becomes a really big
PTAs
challenge when you have
working
transfer
on,
stations, because people throw black
school
bag in.
policies or city
They don't know what's
policies
in
to
that
get from.
So we have to,
Like I said,
unless that bag bursts, then you're like, hey.
It's kind of like what you were talking about where y'all have a quality control check for every load. If you could have that at your green boxes, or at your landfill, because I'm even imagining here in Athens, like the only, food scraps are coming from our collections from restaurants. And yet there are people coming to landfill every day with their household trash, and that's all it is household trash. If you said you can drop this off for free, if your truck's divided and you got somebody there, I don't know what your inspection looks like, but you can set up where you've got that. Spot checks, yeah. Yeah.
I imagine many of your clients.
Aware of it, but basically using, electric and water displacement, giant battery.
Yeah.
You use solar to pump water upstream, and you use gravity overnight to power hydroelectric.
We could go after the big institutional guys, so guess what
Displacing
tech
water.
you're in. If you're
That's a
big,
lot though, doing this on solar.
And so, but you also, well,
I don't know, there are probably downsides to that as well.
scale, it's easier because now it's two big garbage trucks that have to get everything, and not a garbage truck that has to spend, 3
It
days
takes up a lot of
up
space.
around,
Whatever,
Yeah, and there is an incentive there, I'm sure that
Elevation,
you that on a
gravity,
scale, like,
can't put it in a car.
if they.
So that's one problem, but like
That's another industry, automotive, that needs to be good, so that's kind of going back to
But
solar
there's
and all of
incentive to
it,
get that mass
automotive.
to someone like you, or,
I
so
think,
it doesn't
you know,
go
I like to keep track of
maybe
it,
you're a
but-
large entity.
But it seems like we kind of have
I'm
like
trying to think of what that looks like, I don't know how level of here
a
so much.
problem.
But then
We
like,
have
every
like
state
a
is
lot of
somewhere.
problem industry,
So,
and industry
what
that's
is,
like doing
how
pretty
does that,
good,
how
and
does that
then
go
like,
policy?
you know, we got some good examples.
And you can do it with the ordinance at a local level,
And then,
that's a little easier.
we're always
You
talking
could
about
say
like
you generate more than
major
that.
opportunity
Yeah.
industry as well.
Recycle and
To me, that's under investment, because that's an investment at an organizational level, and we want to do it different. So you have to think about, well, what are the incentives?
And the ordinance is on, we do that here already with some of that, like for source reduction, like, right, so we know what, for example, like with the bars, if there's source reduction.
The industry
they
that I
have no
thought of
using glass.
immediately was the
And they get some, there's a license, or, there's some fund that, let's think of that on a larger scale for the state,
I think that
because
a lot of
that's
that
also
is
helping out business,
mindset,
like, there's
just
a
like
couple of things that, there's
feeling the need to
a couple of
continue
benefits.
to spend and buy new clothes every season, essentially.
generating a lot of food scrap.
Also,
I mean,
just
it's not-
knowing that
It's
when
not
you
just,
donate things to
Georgia Dome or,
restaurants
I mean,
and all
all
of
they
that,
do.
that's actually
But, I mean,
for
I
in a
imagine
way,
you see the
because
waste
there's so
study, I don't know
much.
if Georgia has done it.
Georgia has done, they did one, well, I think the last one, there's a lot of landfills, and it was,
But if, does 25 or 30% of the waste come from 28 big
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
I'm curious, like in your business model, are
So this is a lot larger than just Georgia.
They can't resell it the
a lot of
same.
material and can achieve your scale
Definitely
from?
industry to
Or
think
is it
about,
places that have an
it takes
incentive like they
a lot
have
of energy
the
to make
carbon
clothes,
goals,
so
that they market
like it
themselves
ties
as
into
part
water
of an
and
organization?
waste
And so,
and
because we're just thinking about ourselves, like, well, why do we do it? Like, what are our incentives? And we don't get a lot of benefits on the back end right
Yeah.
now
think.
So now we have to go to the next level and see, with the university.
What is that university? What are they thinking?
No, but it's, so I think it becomes a complex maze potentially, depending on the size of the organization. So I think the idea certainly of finding really big contributors and making it attractive.
High quality material.
I mean, it's
Or
Campbell's
free
Organic. And going to be appropriately for the true impact of the materials. That's horrible. Right.
Just to be able to cover what will be more expensive in terms of collection and separating for household.
I don't know who I have it here on how to sell it. It would seem to me
Generally
to be
speaking,
part of
it's
the
up to national
sort of
standards.
farm bureau and saying the real reason we need to do this is because we need to reinvigorate
Most of the time, they'll
soils in
actually-
Georgia.
They have
And to get the farm bureau, not, I love
Yeah.
Georgia Organics,
just
but,
not
I don't know
circular,
if
but
they
they're
have
actually
the
the procurement,
political,
not accurate.
muscle at
So they're like a perfect
Georgia Farm
environment
Bureau.
for a closed
To get
loop,
them behind
kind
this,
of like a
saying,
school
the reason
education.
we're doing
Is
this,
the main thing
we're not
like
just a client, we're not
concessions
gonna
that you're
just say
talking
money.
about?
We're doing this to reinvigorate
I mean,
soils
everything
of
from
Georgia,
turf
some of the most fertile ground in the country, so we have
Yeah.
great beaches and all this other kind of stuff. In order to do that, we need this resource.
And that's being done in, so.
That's what we're
that's,
really good in California.
Yeah.
The relationship between ecology in San Francisco and growing wine grapes in Napa Valley. But part of the challenge we have in Georgia is the distance between our organic production, organic material production, which is North Georgia, and most of our farming, especially
thing that
farming,
they
don't really
highlight
highlight
their advantage.
soils,
Advantage.
soils are fruit vegetable production, which is a lot. The reason I know that is because we used to ship poultry litter from North Georgia to South Georgia, and that program kind of fell apart
You know,
because
like
We
what-
need to raise
That's
I
absolutely.
mean, you see the ideas, skyrocketing.
Yeah, so,
We
we specialize
Right.
in
Yeah.
I would think that, even though it may be temporary,
What I'm supposed to do is switch it to get a mandate.
I think ultimately it's that factors cost of the material, the population of people are here, population of farms are here, you're shipping food to people, you gotta ship something back from the people back to the farm.
This is one of the problems. So this is one of the key problems in our state is that you have
like
agricultural group that is very
making
powerful
people think
that is
about,
aligned
like,
around soil health.
if you're investing in
Your company
something,
recommended it,
like
but every other state
they're
that
like
we
being
operate
proud
in,
and like screaming
the
at
ag
the cops.
group is much more aligned.
Comes right here in town. We're not composting.
What is in those other states that are driven, that ag stakeholders, that soil health?
We did, there's a great opportunity, I mean, UGA.
That's a good question.
CRM's got free money out there to do this stuff.
Just to bring us back, like high level, part of how I see this challenge, or how we see this challenge, is that policy creates the bottleneck of infrastructure.
I think you got a pitch next week for that.
So it's a lot, like you have,
It is
they're all
weird,
interconnected
the
parts,
publicity
because
and
why I was
just
saying, don't just think about
how things
composting,
are
think about
advertised and
closed loop
promoted
systems,
and,
like all of
like
these pieces
businesses
interconnect
not
to each
wanting
other.
their name
If you move
associated
one of
with
them,
certain
you have to
things,
move
like
another one.
Concrete Jungle,
And that's what you just said about.
food rescues from grocery stores, and,
That don't want the negative PR.
yeah, and you would think that they would want you to know that they're
Because you're
reducing
saying we're
waste
just
and
that
it's
much
just
different,
then
that
going to
level
people
of
who
power,
food, but they
and
do
then
not want
not
us to
you
use
having that
their names
buy-in
in
or
part
that support.
supporting them.
So why is it
Like we have
different? And that's what
grocery
you're
stores.
doing. Why is it different than, like, that's a really good point.
Because if you don't figure that out.
We do say the name in, I just avoid writing it, like, I don't put it in writing, but I do say it to people, because like, no one's gonna quoting me over in the corner, but, you know, it's just interesting that they don't want us to know.
Politically,
Like, one day
or
out of
direct
the
to farm
week,
bureau and say,
we
we
gotta.
want to do a free study for you, we want to bring free compost to your
So
farm, and
it's
show you
like-
how much better it
To
will
me,
be.
it's a crazy
How your
amount,
crop yield
and
will go up,
Yeah.
and then they
Are
say,
they
oh my God, those nice people from
they shouldn't be, because there's
University
a
bought me all
law
this
that
free
protects
compost,
them
and our
from that.
production went up
Yeah.
7%. Oh, I'm on
well, I think we've switched sides, I think we've covered a lot, I think that
Yeah.
you have some kind of problems to point out, some like, you know, solutions and opportunities. I think that, you know, these three really present themselves as a perfect environment.
I know in that case, the permitting is a huge obstacle, because they break
that, and then like scaling
All that
bigger,
stuff that
broader
Jason
kind
got.
of systems, and I think really thinking through, like, are we just creating another issue down the road?
Yeah, you need a lot of the barriers that were there.
But awesome, thank you so much for an awesome conversation. I do, yeah. Yeah, what about it?
The water protection requirements are pretty strict. We're out of compliance with our permit at EPA, which is one reason why we take all of our dining service.
All right, let's rotate.
Because, you know, it's too, it was easy for us to manage when we had a whole bunch of researchers.
Yes,
But now it's just
yeah,
around.
yeah. So I actually
We
had
just got that grant.
to step out because we're going to
Yeah.
listen about working
This
with
is-
you
that's a
guys. So
skill.
we've actually been talking.
So you go-
I'll chat with you
you can
again.
create-
But because y'all are in ag school, like a cool ag.
I've given out all my cards, but yeah, I would, you have a card of.
Yeah, okay, no, I think I have one. Two things. One, I had questions,
Yeah, you would like.
solar.
Great, yeah.
But you also discussed about bio.
Yeah.
I like that.
But what you
Yes, I was like coming back to the couple for my day, and I didn't have like cold version, I was left over, and it's like, oh,
Yes.
I'm always surrounded you guys.
20 years, 15 years, there was real research.
I was in CCRC 25
A little
years.
bit farther out, and then, you know, we've done the one with the apple machine up there.
Yeah.
And then we
I
make it
think
like.
Michael Hahn might still be involved somewhere.
All right.
But I've not talked to anybody about it.
Well, yeah.
Some of that structure has now shifted over to our, what's called our Evergreen Center, where they're doing research and development on these biodegradable products.
The new material. Is that really viable?
Whereas they used to be trying to come up with actual uses for the, compost materials. Now, they're developing bio, products and testing how rapidly they break down under different composting scenarios for the companies that are making these and for different places that may end up in the environment. So like they'll expose a new product.
He's one of those people that
It's pushed out to the ocean.
he's like, you know, after Sam's
Shifted more into that product development.
We're still going.
Chemists, so they're all chemists, a lot of chemistry and engineering.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and switch, so if you were talking policies, come over and talk industries.
I'll be right back. These guys are
Sounds
interested
good,
in
thank you.
compost from different types of ways of producing compost in terms of how does it affect the products that we're developing. So I think we lost all of two of them. Some of them two who was moving together.
Yeah, and he's gonna sit back down.
I walked into the wrong room.
But then if you like the conversation.
Well, no, this is where I meant to be in too early. So I didn't hear the presentation, I didn't hear the front end piece about what you guys do and those kinds of details that needed to. But the conversation is exceedingly interesting. There's clearly a lot of experience and thinking about it.
Good group.
I'm glad y'all are doing it this way. This conference.
Well, they gave us 2.5 hours on the bid.
Oh, that's part of it. They gave you a long time.
But we thought too, I came on Monday.
But quickly, some of the things that were discussed about factors design and how policy is that policy creates really phenomenal bottleneck for industry. So what I'm
first started with what you
Normally
said,
it's
you were talking about.
all
national,
filed in one spot,
Worldwide.
where they're actually processing.
I think it's,
And
while it's important to have that broad
it's
focus,
back out.
I think in terms of specific action, I want to think about where we are.
Yeah.
Or is that not?
So, in general, you know, we've
Well,
had
the challenge with that is that someone has to pay for it to get to the composting
water
facility.
is
And the
pretty much,
composting facility has to make money.
and in fact, we
here.
think of it, we should probably,
So anything that comes in, whether it's yard waste or whether it's food
so,
removals, you have to make money as it comes across your scale.
that,
So the forestry folks
Yeah.
are
We're not problem in Georgia relative to
fundamentally,
Yeah.
relative to.
South Georgia, like Flint.
they're not gonna pay for it, it's gonna run around their land to the composting facility, and the compost facility can't pay for it
That's a water.
to try to utilize.
And that's mainly from agricultural extraction.
Correct. To answer your solar thing, my suspicion is this is somebody or a group of people who are against a specific project and are looking for reasons to oppose it. So they go, oh my God, you're gonna have a toxic waste dump in 20 years. If you solve that problem, they would find another reason why they don't like it. So I think it's a NIMBY problem that you're trying to solve and not, I'm not discouraging it, yes, I think that, as you were saying, industry-wide, worldwide, we gotta say, okay, EV batteries, which are a bigger problem in my mind than old solar panels and old wind turbines, we've gotta figure out how to solve that problem, but the people who are raising
You would have to
doing it because they
create a
don't
different
want to try it in their backyard.
So we wouldn't mix the counter between all of us, they create another really, which is totally not grant level based on that. I think what y'all are talking about is transition usually challenge is the grant application policy where it was used in the pool that they're gonna have a compost site at their landfill. They're the only county in the metro area that has this landfill, that's public now. And there's some of these are a big part of it, like, they're already accounting because they're the priority, so.
I think the thing for us that came out
So
of
they're
the
not,
solar
like,
is
anyone that participates in composting now because.
are
they're
we,
doing composting
are we
is
like,
participating
are
in
we creating
agriculture,
problems for
research,
future generations? Like, are we implementing,
or they have
implementing
ESG
another
goals
layer
that
of
are set by
cost?
their work.
You know, are we
Company,
putting in
their
information
account.
about like
So,
thinking through in the first place to
it's a,
close
it's a
with,
big challenge that we don't have policy
opportunities. So
that's
that was,
so that
how can we
chicken
start? I
And,
guess
but you wanna get away from food only, or food farm related industries, or not necessarily.
Yeah,
Because I feel like, I mean, it is, from field to field, right, so it's kinda hard to do what you're not talking about.
Well, that was the funny thing, is everything kind of came back to, a lot of it came back to waste. That's why waste kind of became the middle word,
Right,
waste
pass it
kind
down to
of.
quarter source.
I mean, I would argue
You're gonna do
where
this.
you could get
They just said, we're not gonna do it unless.
not that I have a solution, well,
So, okay, so like, from a cost
it,
perspective, we're not gonna prioritize
the
this
worst thing in
unless.
Atlanta is
Not even necessarily, I mean, there's.
And so, is there a way to adopt more ride sharing, get cars off the road? Is there a way to adopt more bike sharing? Is there, you know, until you can fix your mass transit?
Yes, reliable bus transit, that's.
Yeah, let's say,
Actually, we,
and y'all
you know, around, yeah, Google is probably technology. I was gonna say, around the rideshare
They are
services,
telling me that it's the downers that just don't care.
I mean, how does this apply to what I,
But, you know,
I'm saying the average person, if somebody had an idea
This is the last few
that
days out.
seemed feasible, or do something about the other industries. And obviously, that's big part of it. And also air pollution and all that other people.
Well, one thought, I know, it's just wait to hear your perspective on north side right now. One thing I realized is having water.
Carpet, that's a great one. I love that.
But I think
So as far as, so I will give you a good example. So they have a Mohawk and Shaw, are the two big guys.
So from like an economic perspective.
And they
well,
recycle
so
more,
have that ag, it's for
number one
not
plastics,
just
so,
for forestry.
polyethylene.
But I farmer and it's just commodity farmer.
Yeah, we'll take those
So this
examples
is,
too.
they refer to their model as cradle to cradle.
Yeah, I love her.
They use carpet
Well, there
industry.
is the cradle to cradle
Um,
certification.
Yeah,
Oh, that building,
and this is a good example of, I mean, I think it's good to have one that, this is a win for
Yeah,
Texas.
exactly.
So, and Dalton-Field County has done many things where, yeah, that kind of seeing the idea of, and I also love that I can have putting my house name not only in the US, but in the state that I live in.
Yeah.
So that's a great model for like, how could we do more of that? Yes. So I think that,
Cycle, yeah, and I think we have a lot of, non-toxic strides as well, to create clean air in homes and things like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the average carpeting off now.
Yeah.
I had a lot of lawyers on that.
Yeah. So we actually were talking about with water, same thing, how in Georgia, there's a good amount of examples of, sustainable solutions. But it was kind of funny because they're talking about good examples, but then how those also kind of highlight other things. So they were talking about Mercedes-Benz, cistern to catch the like million gallons of rainwater. So they were saying that that was, put in place.
So that does exist.
Yes, so Mercedes-Benz. But they were saying that they had to put that in. We were like, oh, well, what do they use it for? They use it for irrigation. They're like, no, it's more of a holding tank because they clear cut so much land to build it. They didn't want all
Also,
the
they're not using purple, it's called purple pipe, so you use it in.
Water harvesting system.
A separate plumbing, system. I mean,
Yeah.
should be able to use it at least for, for the bathrooms. I mean,
Yeah.
and
And that's what we were showing some other examples. They were saying Emory, like the water tub, they use it for the gray water for the bathroom. And then Georgia Southern, they use it to water their, intramural fields. So we have some cool examples in
Yeah.
Georgia of closed water systems.
maybe highlighting that, giving that some press,
Yeah.
and giving folks credit for it,
Yeah.
then becomes more visible. I wasn't aware of any of that. I mean,
So
I'm
UGA built several of these a decade ago.
All of
And
us.
our,
Maintenance.
yeah, our challenge was, it's like any like brand new technology. You don't master it in the first build, so it didn't work as well as you'd like. Your plumbing staff and other operational staff didn't know what to do with it. It works completely different from everything else. When it breaks, you don't know how to put it back together. But also the other problem is that, and this goes back to your point, relative to other things, water doesn't cost that much, and so in terms of the benefits outside of, for the amount of infrastructure you have to put in to capture so much water, something like you're talking about is actually better, a purple pipe system.
I can share with you all, I was in a conference in the Bay Area, and they had a Sinai.
How can we create like more hyper-local
Plain
Water,
do not drink.
okay, but I want to show you how crazy it was when it was over. Darn, I can't fill my water bottle in the urinal. I just thought it was so ridiculous.
Well, you brought up a great
Maybe
point.
it's a requirement of the program.
Yeah. I was behind it all. I was behind Jay coming down here, a dead chicken truck, and it said, I forget what the word was, but like, do not use. They had liability.
No, I just saw this, I just like, it couldn't work, you know, but,
Yeah, you brought up a great point around press. And so I was talking with someone about this on Monday. Georgia has like different sustainability goals that we want to hit, specifically the city of Atlanta, and all that. And how can we get out more, either statewide, press and campaign on the great things we're doing, or even more nationally to highlight. A lot of people think this is a great way to kind of wrap up this conference. A lot of people think of the Southeast as underdog in sustainability, and they don't know that like Atlanta is,
this state, if you want to make it more things, you don't use the climate law, you talk about like,
So,
economic development.
some
He's not
people
saying
look
that
for that as well.
economic development, you don't use climate. I mean, he didn't say, well, we're getting here to save the planet, we bought it here because it's the new Georgia economy. You know,
So,
now,
So I.
but at the end of the day, if it's gonna get us to where we need to be on climate, that's fine, if you wanna, say that, how do you build the new
Here's another
economy?
example. We have the largest
Looking
aluminum
at
recycling
the-
plant in the world.
How much can we use this union, but
And-
No, that was.
basically spreading it out more so it's not all.
You know, and one thing, and I'm thinking because we are trying to establish ourselves as kind of a renewable energy innovation hub, you know, nationally, especially around e-mobility. And it looks like the last group said like solar is like bad, because like mining, well, e-mobility is gonna have the same problem. Like when we begin to bring in, with a circular economy, I don't know if these rare earth elements are in enough abundance that you can collect them without mining. In other words, collect them from waste. But that, if we're gonna become that industry, we need to look into that so that we're not reliant upon the mining industry for all those raw
Oh,
materials.
no, I think there's a belief
And
that
farmers could benefit.
you have to recapture them. And, I mean, there is the concern that many times the way to recapture it is, yeah, we take the batteries, we recycle them, we put them in bars, we send them to the world country, and we put that kids.
Ripping stuff out.
Pulling stuff out.
That we're still like putting
So even if you try and recapture some of that.
Well, it has to be done.
Going back to the green jobs that you're doing.
It has to be done
how do you make
here,
it
in the
equitably,
States.
equitably?
And one would argue largely, utilizing technology, so this is like to do that. But I would argue it actually starts at the really factory for that. It has to be built for circularity. If you don't build it to easily be recycled, we're back to the only way to do it is to send it to a country that have 12-year-old kids pull it out.
Maybe it's a vertical integration, circular integration.
that I'm seeing, as I mentioned in my talk about.
I think the batteries themselves are already being built for that. But that's where I'm ignorant, is like, I don't know how much of this material is out in the world to be gathered already. I think unfortunately, we're clearly not meeting the future.
Yeah, I don't,
But I don't know the exact lines to be trying to everything over this.
I guess say you're outside.
Probably a lot.
Well, take it back to higher ed, what's a lot higher ed involved here is how can higher ed start to train the next, or educate the next generation to think
I'm glad you're bringing this up because we have the e-mobility certificate program. In terms of the dean of engineering there, and you need to know that early in the development of that.
if you're going to design, whether it be a building, whether it be a battery, whether it be a car, you now need to think from it's the cradle to grave thing, but it's not the grave, it's how do you design something to get from that can do that? You design buildings, how do you design buildings now? So you've got all these office buildings that no one wants to go to. Can they easily be converted into apartments? Can malls be converted into housing, which we need for people out of control? Well, part of the big challenge has been bathrooms.
Well, you brought up a good point, going back to like the worst scenario with like the small, the manufacturing facilities, right? Then we start implementing these other.
We haven't gotten that far yet, but that's what I'm researching right now.
Well, I mean,
That is
Ray
a great way
Anderson,
to
go back,
start a system
designed the
that's
car,
not
they
currently
have
happening in your
a
state,
carbon
to
negative
look at
car,
other states that are doing it.
but they designed it from the get-go
Right now,
to close the loop, and how it works. If you have to go and take
Yeah,
something
we're up.
after the fact and say, what do I do with this?
Community building effort of community building is something that you have to meet people where they're at, and you've got to do it over and over and over. You've got to
Speaking of the irony, I'm actually a step away, and I get kudos for leading traditions, and my daughter is in middle school STEM,
It's like idealism, that's driving us to effort.
One other thing I want to say is going back to this, we do have an agricultural region and real risk of being drought prone in the future. And this is going back to compost, sorry, that's why I'm into this session.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, like, if you're, like we were talking over there about how hard it is in the state to get agriculture stakeholders interested in soil health. I'm wondering if you could almost look at it as a rainfall infiltration groundwater recharge.
It is.
You know, obviously it is, but I doubt very seriously they're looking at the ground flush down there according to how can we maximize recharge.
Well, and then when so one thing that we talk a lot about is when, you're helping with the rainwater. Basically, anytime you can save on water usage, you're helping the farmer save on water costs. And it goes back to terms of economy. That's how we speak to the other side. And, Regenerate America, their slogan is soil is our common ground, right? It's a bipartisan issue that's going to bring us all together. So bringing back to how we talk to the agriculture community, right? It's like they might not say it's water costs. They were saying in a presentation on Monday, they were saying to turn the big sprinklers on, it costs like $60,000 materials for the big farms.
Yeah, I can hear what the numbers were, it was really.
Yeah.
So, and farmers, like, they have no margins, like, they were saying it's so risky for the farmer. That's what they were talking about precision ag, they were saying farmers were so hesitant to turn water on, because they were going to be criticized, they were wasting water and money.
You've all heard the designation for city. A lot of people have, but again, in terms of the precedent, in terms of the touristic thing, it is potentially something that could be promoted. Their voices go all the way pretty rapidly. And with it, runoff is going to be increasing the problem and infiltration. Now that's, it's a city consideration, but it's going to have.
It's happening.
I'm not sure exactly how to do that. Since I think it's probably tends to be legislatively a battle between the city and the farm organizations.
I'd like to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we said we won't be a compost provider.
But they're connected.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, it's all so connected, but yeah, leaving our colors will directly affect our water tables.
We help them set up a
affect the ag industry, which is
line
our state,
into the building.
like, we are an ag
Everything
industry.
that-
So if we're risking, our ag industry, like.
They
They're
do.
sort of recycling.
No, they,
People in the city
no,
don't get it.
they do composting as
And people
well.
in Princeton don't care about what's happening in the city.
But they're not,
Yeah,
there's not doing it at
I don't know how to make
level.
yeah.
There's, like, there's levels of
Farmer restoration
doing
is
the sorting process.
the main value.
Yeah, so it just, again, doesn't matter.
I've been able to convince rural communities of is, put as much organic matter back on creating
And
landscapes
that's
as
like,
they can. They do,
obviously that is a
anybody,
huge
like, the best place to do it is schools, because every time you
Yeah.
build a new school, you level it down,
Those
deep
barriers
horizon
come down
soils, and then the kids go out and play in the
Get
dirt.
things like subsidies.
The clay soil, come back, and,
Scales and fruit driver.
yeah, which people think is our official soil of Georgia, but it just
Like
means,
North
it just
Georgia,
means you
yeah.
eroded everything
Yeah.
good, But everybody likes to watch a degraded landscape come back to life. Well, and if you could really tie that to, I'll be honest, I think every time in a 20-year time scale, you could restore the most degraded landscapes in most counties. Just through, what's that?
Isn't UGA or whoever, have you researched?
About the same, but Mercedes is just.
We have multiple research firms, yeah.
I mean, I still think that,
Yeah, I wish
I mean,
get more attention.
NCRS is usually big into that, like, the best way to do it is you get one farmer to do it, and it's a really close-knit community, and they're like, how come his corn is 2 feet taller than my corn, what's he do, what's, oh, now
I'm
they come
a
and
facilities
see,
person.
and it's like, well, that's because we just put
And so
12 big dump trucks full of compost on it, and you put that over that Georgia red clay, and,
We've been doing that kind of research for decades, more on like the
right, we could do it because it's small scale,
percentage
so
of what
like
you're diverting
50
from
rows,
the
I
landfill.
think that's why he was saying
Whatever.
North Carolina
Live
has really bought into
years,
soil health.
25% by
Small
weight.
scale
Well,
farms
and
that-
I'm sure where he is in
So
that
it
area.
reduces by
it's
about
different.
65%
Yeah.
and 75%.
I will
So
say,
if
you know,
give
that
us raw
has
food
been one
material,
of the biggest hurdles,
it'll
right,
reduce
is,
all the way down.
in market for compost.
shrinks
So a lot of the
inside.
grant funding and things like that, they go to the purchase of compost, but the biggest hurdle for the
So
farmer,
100
A, it's
tons brought
expensive
in,
input, but what's more expensive is the logistics of
and
getting
then
it
what
to his
was that
farm.
amount?
Especially if we only have 3 in the state, and let's say a farmer in southwest Georgia wants it, the trucking cost.
It definitely has to like
Yeah.
grow
You have to see, you have to set up with
rail
rail
customers,
customers,
rail
rail network here.
A lot of rail customers
Way to
don't
move it.
want the material or
What
need the
about
material back,
decentralization?
so they just share it with.
So, exactly.
Rather than having big facilities, big facilities,
35%
Compost.
you know, 50
Yeah.
little ones.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I know we tend to think there are economies of scale that are associated with bigger things, and we tend to think that way of America.
So my understanding is that they're all doing the row composting.
Well, I didn't know.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
I know
There's
they
a lot of
do.
ASP programs on the community scale for areas that are tile, and so we have. So when we're only looking at going commercial scale composting, it becomes the waste diversion conversation
So would it
versus
be
the
cost
good,
effective at
healthy
all?
soil conversation. So when you're looking at states like, let's say California, who are rolling out, aggressively, rolling out compost infrastructure into these mega facilities, they basically just become
For
a
UGA,
landfill with like sort of
Is that possible?
right?
is it?
When you have the small community.
No, not
gardens,
really.
The people are
But we've been talking
invested
about
in
this
the
before,
quality of
about
compost, because
potentially
they're getting back, they're
putting
getting
a
food from.
public-private partnership where we
And so
can
I am a
actually
proponent
help
of
them
the
scale that.
decentralized model, and with the larger composting facilities, you're waiting around for years on funding, then construction.
All right, I think we're-
Decentralized, like your community can build one this month.
Thank you.
The
Climate adjusters, because like 75% of organic matter is usually water.
Yeah, we all.
Yeah.
So it's like how you reduce the hauling piece of it. I think these systems are really expensive, and it's a particular niche you have to hit, or based on like what level of waste are you producing, and then contamination can be dealt with a little bit easier, because it's also on the front end.
But again, on the small scale, it's something that you could do by hand. As, volunteer activity or, low-level employment activity.
Tomorrow for helping compost.
It would be to
Think about this.
have not a partial ban on yard waste
But
and landfill, but
there's
a
an
full
awful
ban.
lot that can be done.
It's hard to get
There's a
high
full ban,
quality
you have to
compost
have
in
our
your
backyard
backyard.
to enable the
You
compost.
know, at that smaller scale,
Yeah,
and
my
getting
number
the
one,
mix
like,
right,
the
getting the
lowest
aeration
hanging
right,
fruit,
and I'm saying this
I
because
think
I've done
we
this
can
composting, and it's,
People
mine
have
is
the
never as
infrastructure
good as the
to then
Yeah.
aerated stuff.
Yeah.
And then
never
from there,
really.
it's very
Yeah.
easy to have.
And that goes
waste
back to
and
that
garbage.
press and these
Right.
campaigns, like,
So it
what if
unlock a
we
whole lot
use
of
the
infrastructure
film
development
industry
at a public level.
to do a campaign to
and then
teach everyone how to
investors
compost
would
in their backyard at their
What are the
school,
main
right?
barriers
Imagine
to
if that was a
starting
commercial,
composting
that came
facilities
across the
in every
street,
Yeah.
right?
Where do you want me?
Like, how
Yeah,
more than that.
how can we
Yeah,
utilize?
probably the number one.
Join the amendment.
Yeah. Having planted, it's base here, but utilizing our film industry and our film.
At a minimum,
Yeah.
it's $7 to $10 million.
Oh, you're great. Thank you so much for everything you added. I
And
think
what
we're
you see
gonna all kind
happens,
of share
they
back
kind
together
of-
here real quick.
What I'm talking about to process 25,000 tons per year and 7 to 10.
No, you good? No, all good. All good.
To make any money.
I got
It doesn't know whether they're making money or not.
compost questions.
Yeah.
Discussion.
Love
So
it.
every time
So
it's-
now back to
that's part of the
composter.
problem with barrier food out of the landfill.
The only thing I'm gonna figure out.
So,
They don't know what
so
they're spending
I will
on
say,
certain categories right now, so we can-
become one with the flowers. You are simulating nature, so,
20 years,
yeah.
say,
No, in the summer, as
my
much
neighbors, I worry about.
Yeah. as much as like I'm trying to divert as much as I can and reduce methane, in the summer I will cut back on my fruit compost. So I'll still focus on compost on vegetables, because the calories and shells, but fruit, all of it kind of go back on. Awesome.
Yeah, so I think
Very good session.
as a